Hey everybody, thanks so much for tuning into another episode of Hey Nonprofits Raise More Money. You're going to love this episode. Our dear friend from MDA that works on signature events with MDA, Susanna Doyle. She's been on the webinar recently and it was so good. It's actually in the show notes of this episode or the description of this episode. So make sure you check out that webinar that we did with her and Amy Myers from MDA. But there was so much gold that came out of that conversation that we had to have Susanna on because she's worn so many hats. Hundreds of events. She's been a development director. She's worked for a software company in the tech for good space, and she does signature events once again with muscular dystrophy all across the United States. So to say that she's an expert would be an understatement. Do us a favor, reach out to Susanna Doyle on LinkedIn, show her some love, give her a connection invite on LinkedIn. Thank her for this because I know everyone's going to get a tremendous amount out of it. Now, enjoy the show. Thanks for coming to the pod. Susanna Doyle from MDA. Susanna, give me your exact title so I don't butcher it, please, if you don't mind.
Account manager, signature events.
Okay, perfect. We're going to put the webinar episode in the show notes. Okay. It was so good. I think I called you the next day and I was like, we have to double click on those topics.
Yes.
You said something very interesting. We started talking, or the whole idea, the impetus for the episode was how to get pre-event dollars committed for your event and what that means for the fund and need, or you all call it the mission moment.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and fund and need, mission moment, live ask, all those different monikers that you could do. Right. But we got into it. And then what came out of it was how much experience you have.
Oh.
And, and you call it the art of the phone call. And I think it's kind of like the lost art and we're finding it again. And you've literally done hundreds and hundreds of events before you even started at MDA, but you've worn so many hats as well. Like, talk to us, just like what's going on in your mind right now? Because you're still on the phone, you're still making these calls. Like, what are you learning day in and day out right now?
So I do think the phone has evolved a bit to video calls. So often, especially because the way our structure is, we cover areas that we don't necessarily live in.
Yeah.
So hopping on a phone call is great, but also hopping on a video call and just really getting to know them. Like we used to do, kind of grab coffee or whatever, but building those relationships with donors, committee members, volunteers, that sort of thing, to figure out really what they're interested in. Why are they supporting? What can we do? How can we increase their giving capacity? That sort of thing. So just getting to know them, old school.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you're doing that mostly video, but then once you get to know them, you're on the phone as well. You're developing the relationship, things of that nature. Well, you said, of course, like just the big buzz term, this is a big relationship game.
Yes.
It's not what you know, it's who you know and how well you know them.
Yes.
And
yes.
So when you say that you're dealing with folks in areas that you don't even live in, that sounds like a little bit of a challenge.
It's a unique learning curve.
Yeah.
But I think, there's so much that wasn't great about the pandemic, but I do think we figured out a way to connect virtually in this world. It's not out of the box. It's not uncomfortable. People are just used to being able to connect anywhere.
Yeah, totally. No, of course. Yeah, there's no barrier there.
Right.
Let's just say you're in a community, you're in a local community, and you are running a very lean shop, so to speak, and you're the development director on the development team for one of these organizations. You talked about some efficiency standards and things like that from your past and I love your birthday card story and, and things, and, share some of the things that you use in the past in previous positions, maybe that you even still utilize now, working for a national org like that folks can glean from, if you don't mind.
Well, and I do manage our Tampa event and I live in Tampa, Florida. So I do still have the local footprint as well, which is nice. But yeah, I can think of when I was a development director at a smaller nonprofit and the development director is all encompassing. You're the grant writer, you're the event planner, you're the annual giving manager, you're the, direct mail campaign, you write the newsletter. It was all the things. So that's when I developed and I had learned it from another director previously, but the birthday card system that you mentioned, where every month I had a folder in an old school filing cabinet, and you could just pull out that month and it would say February and everything in there. And sometimes I would just stick a note like, ran into Bob and his birthday or his anniversary and just throw it in there. So all I had to do was pull out that folder for the month and everything I needed to send, or if I needed, even if it's just an email or this day and age, a text, but like, hey, thinking about you this month, know it's your birthday, or hey, know you're celebrating your 15th anniversary. To me, it was easier to have the folder. I could throw a birthday card in there or whatever. I do put a lot of stuff on my calendar now, just things I learn about people, things I want to remember, reminders to myself, because we do cover a lot of forms of muscular dystrophy. So if it's like SMA Awareness Month and I know someone that has SMA, I put that on my calendar, like, hey, remember to reach out to so-and-so about what we're doing this month, that sort of thing. Just those personal touches, I feel like go so far. And it makes them feel appreciated and remembered.
Yeah, it makes them feel different because a lot of other folks aren't doing that.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing how those efficiency standards and those thoughtfulness tools that you've come up with, that someone passed along to you. And I want to also, you still use these same tools working for a big, large, multinational charity, right? Like you still use these, like y'all still write handwritten notes.
We do. We do. Which, I'll say I had the stack on my desk for an event and I kept thinking, I need to sit down and write. And I couldn't find the time. So we got there, we were setting up for the event and I said, I need 10 minutes of everyone's time. Everyone's grabbing a card and we're writing these handwritten notes, and we had them on the places when the committee members came in. So again, event week, we're all running around like chickens with our heads cut off, but there's usually, even if they're not development staff, there's usually other staff from the organization at these events. Just have a few people sit down, knock out a couple notes. You can just even sign it, the team. And it's just that one extra step. Yeah,
absolutely. I'm a big information thief. We're going to be in like 2,000 events this year, right? So we're seeing all this different, it's experience. It's not opinion, but what are you seeing as far as this thoughtfulness piece or this 2025 piece, running a national organization, doing signature events where y'all do dozens and dozens of events annually? And there's another layer where y'all are not raising money for food insecurity. You guys are raising money for like rare disease, which is a whole nother caveat. But what's something like an efficiency standard or an outreach thing that you've just gleaned and found in recent memory that's working now?
It is an interesting niche to be in with a rare disease, because I've worked for organizations that talk to a lot of people, heart disease, cancer, that sort of thing. So finding a way to kind of get people engaged in something that they may not necessarily be connected to, is just, we have to get that information out. It's a lot of, I hate the word cold calling, often done in more of an email, but just really trying to see who is supporting, whose name do we see a lot in the community, and trying to connect them somehow.
Yeah, that is interesting, because so many folks are always like, it's obvious, right, what they do, right? The mission is really, really obvious. But when it's difficult to make that connection, because like, I don't have a lot of folks in my life that have been touched by rare disease, right? But we've all experienced loss. You know what I mean? Like, so there is, it's really interesting. And a cool thing that there's, when we uncover it or unpack it a little bit, there's like maybe 1 degree of separation, hopefully 0 with folks. But then, then like you said, you see the same name. It's like, well, who do they know? Oh, I know that, that kind of thing. So it's very interesting. We're in a very, very big space, this social impact space, this nonprofit space, but it's a very small world in a really cool way. It's encouraging, I think, long story short, because I've only been in it. You've been in it, probably 2 decades, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I've been in it like 9 years, you know what I mean? So it's still an eye opener to me, Yeah.
No, it's interesting. And it's finding a connection for people, no matter what your organization is, and getting them engaged and finding, because let's say it is cancer. I've worked in that realm. Well, they may not necessarily care about a certain kind of cancer. So you still have to find the niche to get them connected and then get them engaged and keep them engaged.
Yeah. No, it can be very challenging. You said something about cold calling, and then you immediately went email. Now we were talking about the lost art, or the art of calling, and I consider you like one of the best, right, at calling, picking up the phone. Just You have reps, you started somewhere, you got really good at it. Your calls lead to giving at an event as well. So I definitely want to, we'll close the loop on that and talk about events too. But, so you need to call someone, and you said, oh, the dreaded, cold call, and, oh, I can't ask people for money. And we have different like terms that we use to like reframe that in your mind. But so are you, when you're faced with a situation like that, are you not picking up the phone first and foremost? You're sending an email to lay the groundwork? Are you picking up the phone first and then following up with an email? Kind of give us the mechanics of what the day-to-day looks like for you there.
So it depends. We have kind of, I think, a few different buckets. So we really try to leverage our committee members and see who they know and who can they intro us to. We also have past donors that have supported. Those are a bit of an easier pick up and call because we typically have the correct person's name and phone number. So it's like, hey, so-and-so, not sure if you remember me, if it's been a few years, or hey, you guys supported last year. I'm going to follow up with some information. Just wanted you to know it's coming. And then the cold calls, which, for example, we had an old contact. I knew because I had stalked on LinkedIn that she still worked at that organization, but I didn't think she was still the right contact. But I had her email. So I said, hey, so-and-so, not sure if you're still the right contact. Not sure if you remember me, but we have this event coming up. Really wanted to get you guys involved. If you're not the right person, could you connect me? And she did.
Yeah.
And
awesome.
I was able to follow up with that person. I will say I do a lot of LinkedIn stalking or Googling.
LinkedIn is, I'm such a big believer in it. And this is everyone's nudge to reach out to Susanna on LinkedIn and show her some love.
Yes.
And connect. Please do it. Please. Everybody that's listening, because I know you're active there and your whole team is too.
We really try to.
Yeah, it's really much. But then like another great way to identify folks, great way to identify folks that you can make an invitation to and get involved, even though you're playing the long game with that, right? But like, minus the stalking part, no, I'm joking.
I know. I don't know a better term for it, but yes, stalking is probably, but yes.
Everyone does it. I'm messing with you. Yeah. Well,
but LinkedIn, not to get off on a sideline, but LinkedIn has really, really been great for opening some doors.
Yes.
I shared a mission video from a couple years ago and someone on my network saw it and was like, I have no connection, but I see what you guys are doing and I want to be involved. And she's on our committee. So those types of social media, I think it's a careful balance of not posting too much, but posting enough. But it's really opened some doors.
I don't think it's social media. I'm not trying to correct you. I think it's a true like social network the way it was intended. And as we know, it used to be job posting.
Right.
And,
right.
I've been on it since 2017 and I'm just watching it and seeing and learning from LinkedIn experts that we've had on. And I'm so bullish on it. It's working in our space famously. It's almost seems like it was built for our space.
Yes.
And then also, how you can meet corporate sponsors and put your story out there and what have you and tell that story. Yes. And like you said, not post too much and not be too, it's an interesting cautionary tale to folks too. It's like, it's not a place to spam people and to reach out with like pitch decks and stuff like that at a completely unprovoked. I know that's looked upon very, very, not the opposite of fondly. That's for sure. It's looked down upon. Yeah,
exactly. But I did see a local media outlet posted their nonprofit event calendar and we weren't on it. So I commented and I said, hey, love this idea. How do we get on it? So I didn't I saw something and I felt like it was a lead that I could use and I wasn't being annoying, but it was a door that opened and now we'll be on their, be on their schedule. But those people that connect and then immediately send you like
hey, have you considered this for your HR department?
Right.
Yeah. I'm not really into that. What you just said about event calendars, I was at a luncheon, an AFP luncheon last week in Las Vegas that we got invited to. It was really cool. People were, and it's interesting. Some of the folks were sharing the same venue. And a lot of folks just wanted to know when the other events were taking place out of mutual respect. Like we don't want to pull from, because no one owns their donors. But a lot of these folks, even in big cities, go to a lot of the same events and are filling up a lot of the tables. And
100%.
Talk about that because most people aren't talking about that and having those kinds of calendars available in your community. I think that's really, really smart. Talk about that a little bit because that seems kind of obvious, but it seems very new to me as well. Yeah.
Yes. So it is a local like society type magazine with like events and fundraisers and social events that are going on. And they have a nonprofit event calendar.
Yeah.
But to take that up a notch in Tampa, which is, I consider a pretty big city,
I think it's a big market.
somebody somewhere started a group email with all the event leads for all the nonprofits. And we all email each other when we set our event date. And then that way we kind of know, because I know who I compete with.
Precisely. Yeah.
And it's nothing against my organization or theirs. It's just some of these huge events, I could still possibly get a sponsorship from one of their sponsors, but I can't compete with that crowd. I mean, some of these have top artists headlining and that sort of thing.
Yeah. No, totally. I think
it's great to know.
Yeah. I think it's just good business. Yeah. And people aren't thinking about it too much. It's very
And honestly, if you look at the calendar and they're really big events 3-4 weekends in a row, people are going to be tired. So finding the right time of year too.
Yeah, good call. Yeah, just be thoughtful with that kind of stuff. Because I will say, I don't mind, blasting it out there. It's actually really good for you and us. But, live events and community events with a fundraising element and honestly, auctions are very popular. I don't think they're going anywhere. And it could be because the rubber band snapped back so dramatically from our, the horrible time in 2020 and 2021, and what have you, maybe even beyond for some people. But it's amazing the community element of these in-person events that good organizations are really honing on, as far as, building the community, of supporters, volunteers, stakeholders, all the above, and how people are craving, and they still get fatigue if they go to 4 in a row. I get it.
But still,
one of my best friends is a CEO of a bank, so he's going to all of these, right? Like that kind of thing.
He's
so
like,
there is fatigue, but there's so much opportunity there. And it's just another nudge and encouragement for folks to be thoughtful with their planning. Yeah.
Well, and I was really surprised. You mentioned auctions kind of coming back. And Amy can confirm this. I was almost dead set on not having an auction at one of our events. And it did $7,000 last year. We really leveraged the committee, asked them to go to local places that were popular, and it made over $20,000 this year.
Susanna just mentioned some really cool things about silent auctions and live auctions. And I would be remiss if I didn't remind you that this episode is brought to you by, yep, you guessed it, HGA Fundraising, offering the most profitable auction items in fundraising, the perfect addition for your next silent auction, live auction. As a matter of fact, we'll be in 2,000 events in 2025 alone. If you're an event fundraising professional, you need to look up HGA Fundraising. HGAfundraising.com, the most profitable auction items in fundraising. Now back to the episode.
And I was like, all right, I'll eat my word. I was wrong.
Was it because people were going, or you hadn't tried it without the auction yet, is what you're saying?
We had not tried it without.
Okay, gotcha. Because I'm hearing feedback from folks who are like, hey, we don't want to do this. Like, we have it's not a big campaign. It's not on LinkedIn and we're not, a big deal. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, let's make the silent auction cool again. Or let's make the art of calling cool again. You know what I mean? So we're having phone experts on, like yourself and other guests. There are people that I'm hearing from that said, we removed the silent auction and because, we don't want to deal with it. And I will say there are some caveats where it takes a lot of people power to get items and what have you. But there are ways that you can become more efficient at that. But yes. The feedback that I'm getting is that people were banging down their door going, hey, that was fun. Why'd you get rid of the silent auction? Oh my goodness, we loved it. And then, they had the advent of bidding on their phone and sharing and, potential virality of certain things. And yeah, it's encouraging, but like you said, it's a cool opportunity to add another $20K to your event. It's not the end all be all, but it's a really important value add and revenue enhancer, I would say. You know what I mean?
Well, and it gets people involved. Yeah. And, that's where back to the calling thing.
Yeah.
That gives us kind of our prospect list. Who spent $2,500 on the silent auction, or who spent $5,000 at the Mission Drive? First of all, we're going to call and thank them, like old school call, pick up the phone. We've gotten their numbers because of the bidding software. So we have their cell phone numbers and we can say thank you. And that's how we've gotten people on committees and we've gotten people involved and back the next year. Because I think often, especially in our career, we have these lofty goals and we want to think about our biggest donors. But really, someone that spends $500 or $1,000, if they come back the next year and you've cultivated them and you've thanked them and you've, kind of kept in touch, they may do a little bit more and then they may be on your committee. And so it's not always they came to the event, now they're on the committee and they're going to chair it. It takes some time and it takes some cultivating and it takes just some random outreach and that sort of thing to keep them engaged and grow that relationship. So
I've had this conversation 6 times since this weekend. And I'm not pushing our agenda, but you know what world we're in.
Right.
And
right.
Our auction items go for $2,000, $3,000. And let's just keep it on the silent. Let's just talk there. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And my contention is that let's just say you sell 3 silent auction items and you've got all the data because you're using software. It's all right there. And they sold, once again, between $2,000 to $3,000. My contention is that there is no possible way that you know all 3 of those people or have met them before or shared a phone call or shared a cup of coffee. And I don't mind putting the label, I'm speaking freely. That's a great mid-level donor.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, 100 could be considered depending on your organization. And I'm not casting anyone or the money involved. How long does it take? So that being said, we're going to agree that maybe 1 out of those 3 you've never met before. Mm-hmm. And they gave $3,000 at your event. Or how about this? How about they bid $3,000 for an item that they didn't win? Mm-hmm. And you reach out, and then now they're willing to give $3,000 at your event for an item. Mm-hmm. They care, right? You have an opportunity to reach out to them. How long does it take to create a $3,000 mid-level donor from scratch? It's very hard, right? It's like we are just like, we have to do a better job of explaining the potential here at our company, I think, right? But you're seeing it in real time. This is real, Real.
And those reports, granted, I'm biased. I worked for a mobile bidding company for a long time, but those reports you get, like you said, they may have not won the item, but how much were they willing to spend? What does that look like? And we can go to live. I think live items are often thought of as, it has to be like $5,000, $10,000, $15,000. It doesn't. Keep people engaged. $2,500, $5,000 that you can sell multiple times. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of engagement. And that's a lot of people going on a fun trip.
Yeah.
But especially for smaller organizations, I know consignment items can be so beneficial because the time you're going to take to try to put together a travel package like that is not necessarily worth what you might be able to get on it. So partnering with a company, it's a win-win for everyone. It's a win for the company, it's a win for the organization, and it's a win for the donor. And then you're getting them to spend money and be at your event.
Yeah, it can be both wins. It's very interesting. Once again, like you said, like the $5,000 item now in the live auction, someone bid $4,800 to get it there and they didn't win, for instance. Let's just say it's not one of our items that, that they can't sell multiple times. Someone was willing to give $4,800 at your event. It's just like, oh my goodness. I just don't think people realize. And you said like that data that that you're pulling from the event, that's a roadmap. You got to get on the phone and say thank you to those people that were raising their hand at $4,800, for instance.
Right.
You have to get on the phone with those people. So, okay, let's talk about that. Let's kind of end with that. It's like, so you have a particular approach at the event. I'm going to tie in some events. We'll tie in some follow up on the phone after. But I remember you saying on the webinar that we did recently, you're going around and just thanking people. Did I hear that correctly? That's basically your job, is what you've given yourself. It's like, I am here to thank these people for showing up, showing out, committing these dollars for the fun and need, for the mission moment, as you all call it at MDA. But talk about that, and then we'll talk about follow-up as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we often put together a list of people we want to make sure, it's kind of your photo list. You want to give it to your photographer, but also people we want to meet and greet. Because as everyone knows, the event night can go 6 ways sideways. You go in with a plan and who knows what happens. But our goal is to, try to thank all of our committee members, thank all of our sponsors, face to face, shake their hand, have a conversation. And then I always try, again, I'm not perfect, but if somebody wins a live item, I try to go over to them right then. And if they donate a large amount during the fund and need, I try to either, depending on how fast we're going go over and thank them or try to remember who they are so I can go over and thank them after. Nice. I mean, I have a pretty decent percentage of that actually working as far as me being able to get to everybody. But again, I have their information and I can call and follow up after. And those, depending on your event size and your donor levels, is kind of how you would break down who would get a phone call, who might get a thank you handwritten. And that can be like, I don't have one in front of me, but they have patient artwork on the front and they're blank cards. And as my mom always told me, she's the queen of notes. Write big, say little. Just thank you it doesn't have to be a book. Just thank you so much. We just wanted to say thank you for your donation of whatever. We really hope to see you next year. We'll stay in touch. Sign your name.
I was an English major before I dropped out of college. And I used to have a saying that I stole from a movie that said, once again, half as long. Mm-hmm. Keep it brief. Brevity's huge. But brevity ties into our phone calls too, though, correct, Susanna? So you're going to be calling these folks post-event as well. I wrote down something that you said you said keep it casual. Don't overthink it. Sure as hell, don't script it. Pardon me for swearing.
No.
And be yourself. So you're going to be picking up the phone and calling these folks after the event as well as it sounds like you have a planned gratitude approach, as we call it, right?
We do. Let's be really honest. How many people actually answer the phone? So you're often just leaving a voicemail. Sometimes they'll call me back. Sometimes they'll answer. But it's just, hey, it's Susanna with MDA. Thank you so much. Either I'm so glad I got to meet you, or I wish I'd gotten a chance to stop by, kind of depending on how the night went. Just want to thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Call me if you need anything. Does not have to be. Mm-hmm.
You believe in voicemails as well. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of power in voicemails. I think that you can tell. Yeah, go ahead.
I want people, to know I called.
Yeah. Totally.
If they want to call me back, great. But they will at least know that I made the effort.
What's interesting, I thought about a personal experience where I'm not a big deal and I'm not, writing giant checks or anything like that. We give a lot of items. I can't write $10,000 checks to everyone that we want to, but we can give an item where they can raise $10,000 with it. So we do a lot of that, which is we're in a beautiful position to do that. It's awesome. And it's going to keep happening. Well, it's funny. I put myself in the position of the person that was sponsoring because we sponsored a small event. And I remember I didn't really think about it post-event. And this is the world that we're in. I didn't really think about it like, hey, no one called me. Hey, this, that, and the other thing. But then what's interesting, as we got closer, we went around the sun and we got closer to the event the next year, I said, oh, wow, weird. Like it hit, oh, no one called me. Mm-hmm. Like I don't need that. Like I don't need that, but I do recognize what it feels like when you don't get it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Maybe I do.
Well, and I mean, the fundraising events are really a 365-day process. As soon as your event goes off, you have a plan that you kick off the next day. I mean, hopefully you get a day of rest, but and we have a plan in place. Depending on our event goal, we kind of have it broken down by what level of giving kind of gets. Do they get a letter? Everyone gets an email. I mean, that's a blanket email goes out, but who gets a letter or who gets a phone call or that sort of thing, and kind of work our way.
That's awesome.
But that room is your prospect list.
Hey, listen, for the audience and for our team too, thanks for being just so open to sharing.
Yeah.
You have
I love this stuff.
More. Yeah, it's so good. So good. We appreciate you so much. And thanks for being just so open to sharing and being eager to do it. And you're in it. You're still in it every single day. I love that. Mm-hmm. But you and Amy said something because you were talking about, and you were talking about your history where you were wearing all those hats, grant writing, newsletter, I'm development, I'm event planner, I'm all those things. And there's 3 of us in the whole office. You know what I mean?
Right.
So we're all wearing a lot of hats. But what was interesting, gosh, you just said it. That event is your prospect list. However, that prospect list is not thousands. And you dilute it down into a manageable, where you're talking about time blocking 30 minutes a week. I'm making phone calls. I'm writing notes. Okay, maybe we added someone and we can delegate some notes and some phone calls from the committee and stuff like that. So, but I just want to not scare people if they have a 500 person event. That prospect list is it's not insurmountable.
No.
Right?
No, and think about, on average, let's say 500 person event, most of those people are couples. So you're looking at
Yeah.
$250.
Okay.
Some people may not spend any money.
$200.
So, and then some people, not to say it's not at all relevant, but if you're really trying to break it down, some people may not kind of hit that first benchmark for how much.
The top 10%. So now you're talking about 20 people. Yeah.
So it's, I mean, and everyone should get a thank you email.
No question.
But as far as those personal touches, it does not have to be, I think I said this on the last call. One of my early directors said, eat the elephant bite by bite. Like, you have this huge elephant, but you don't have to eat the whole thing. Like, just take little pieces. And if all you can manage are your top 5%, start there.
Yeah.
Like, start there. Then go to 10%. Then the next, but you're only hurting yourself if you're not doing the cultivation, because again, that room, they've seen your mission, they've been engaged, and they believed in it enough to make some sort of donation.
I hate to make it salesy, but the best time to sell something is right after you sold it.
Yeah.
They
have just been touched by something in your program, and again, it goes back to, okay, if it's overwhelming, if your list is overwhelming, ignore the silent auction. Just focus first on people who donated to the mission drive, because they literally just gave you money because they were touched by what you said.
Yeah, exactly.
So, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. Baby steps.
Yep. Oh, I love it how you just said the event is your prospect list. So good. So good. Mm-hmm. Hey, I'm so caffeinated. I appreciate you not letting me get off the rails too much and driving the ship once again.
It was fun.
It's great having you again.
Anytime.
I learn a lot when we talk to you, Susanna. So thank you so much for coming back.
Thank you.
I hope everyone enjoyed the episode. And like I said, reach out to Susanna. We might even throw your email address in the show notes. I don't know. I don't even know if that's legal.
Go ahead.
Reach out to Susanna on LinkedIn. Of course, she's a wealth of information, as you know.
I love this stuff. If anyone has questions, I'm happy to. I feel like I've worn all the hats. So whatever you need.
It's obvious. Thanks for being so open to sharing, Susanna. I know it helps. So thanks so much. Hope everybody enjoyed the show. Yeah. Thanks so much. All right. This is your invitation to come back too. Okay.
All right.
Thanks, Susanna.
Bye.